So I did like a brain dump yesterday, actually. These days have just been squished together because of all the things. So I did a brain dump because just there's almost like a fire like starting in me. Just I've seen all these things before, but I think that now that how do I explain this? Let me just give a little bit of my background. In the past, I was a corporate creative. So I went from intern to, just went up the ranks all the way up to creative director. And I freelanced on the side, but I didn't really take it seriously because to me, the freelancing was just like my career was the corporate. Like that was my career. Like my focus was on doing the best I could for those corporations, you know, climbing the ladder, the corporate ladder. That was my main focus. I freelanced on the side really just because I wanted some just other fun projects to do, like brand development, helping really just logos kind of. I just really wanted I don't want to say brand development because that's not true. I was really designing logos because I liked that was a lot of fun for me was to design logos. So, while I was in the corporate world, I was freelancing. So I freelanced for a very long time. However, it really wasn't until last year. And I think that's what was so hard for me, like going from corporate to like really going all in and having my own business and building my own agency. And even saying that at like even before I would was scared to say agency because I was like, I'm not really an agency, but I am because I partner with creatives and I partner with different types. I partner with people who are editors, people who are marketing professionals, people who are graphic designers, video editors, and creative directors. So like that's an agency. Web designers, web developers, that's an agency. That's quite a bit of different positions, right, that I partner with and that we build together with. So anyway, um, the reason for that whole backstory is just to kind of let you know, like, I the my journey of having a business has been just weird. But I think all of our journeys are weird, right? They're not all like, oh, I just decided to have a business and boom, here I am with my wonderful business, right? Because we're really trying to like find stable ground and figure it all out. So, anywho, I had a brain dump the other night. I was kind of almost like frustrated and I just wrote it all out. And really, what happened was I found a gap. And we all hear that, right? We all hear when you own a business or you're growing your brand or whatever, it's finding that gap and then becoming a solution for that gap. So I found a gap and my my unique ability to fill that gap. So the reason why I thought found the gap is because kind of stood back and so this I I guess this is what this is. So this morning I was looking at content or whatever and I heard a gentleman mention writing down memos. When you first start, that the first thing you should do is write a memo of like what the goal, like what the plan is, what the dream is really, not the plan, but like what you want to have this business. And so writing a memo down of the kind of business what's your dream, right? Before you start going and looking at content and even he said even before you start talking to ChatGPT and because yeah, that's a whole nother podcast. But anywho, so when he said that, it kind of made me reflect on the brain dump that I did and finding that gap and then now positioning myself as a solution. So this is So this is gonna be a action episode, okay? The reason why I'm sharing this with you is so that if you are in the position right now of thinking to yourself, I want to have a business, I want it to kind of be in this, environment, writing down your like you said, writing the memo down. I almost feel like this is like an anchor too, right? Because how many times have you had an idea and then got on ChatGPT and like 15 minutes of later of ChatGPT, you're like, wait a minute, what was I gonna do? Trust me, I've done it. I've been there. So having this anchor written down, I feel will really kind of help ground you to not just like fly off the handle and get like super crazy, like all the planning. Okay. Okay, so let's bring it back in. So I, okay, yeah, this is it. This is it. So what I did was I had a brain dump and it was a frustration. It was kind of like pouring out my heart, like of how like I felt bad for, I don't want to say bad, but I felt mad actually for my clients. I felt so like, which I'm mad about it, but then I'm kind of like, well, if this didn't happen, then they wouldn't need me. But they need me. So, and they need me because there's just irritating people. Um, so we don't want to be those irritating people. We want to be the solution, and we want to be the people that bring ease and the people that, truly want to see them grow. And that's the whole, so this is what we're getting at. All right. So let me find, because like I did this whole brain dump. I use Claude, by the way, Claude. That's what I use for my GPT. I just, it asks you questions, which is really cool. Like it wants to like kind of push, like I've literally typed stuff in and it's like, why are you telling me this? So, I mean, anyway, that's just really cool. That's what I would suggest if you're really trying to like kind of dig deeper into things. And I've said this before, but I'm just going to say it again. So, ChatGPT, I will use, I have a funny story about that too, but ChatGPT I will use for like brainstorming, like really kind of quickly, kind of like, I don't know. Almost, I kind of use ChatGPT like throwing spaghetti at a wall and seeing, what sticks. I use Claude when it's for like writing, like copywriting, like really having more heart in it because, like I said, it asks you questions and it's trying to learn what you're doing as well. And then Gemini, I use for research. If I'm looking up keywords, if I'm looking up SEO information, if I want to know the truth, because we're this whole wonderful internet of everybody just saying what falls out of their, self. Because there's been times where there's like two different people and they have like major huge followings and they're literally saying the opposite thing. And so I will go to Gemini and I'm like, statistically, right, what's correct and what's incorrect, and I will ask it the questions, and then yeah, Google owns it. So, and they own, like, you know what I mean, analytics, marketing, all that jazz. So I use Gemini for marketing research. I guess that's the best way you could say it, right? Okay. Let me focus. But I mean, I don't hope, I know that this is useful information because I wish that I had this information when I was starting out, and I'm really sick and tired of people being like, oh, I had this issue, but I'm not going to tell you how I did it because I want you to buy stuff from me. Not that I'm not trying to do that either, but I don't know how to explain it. My thing is like, I'm like letting you know this is, I know the stuff. Like, I know the stuff. This is stuff that I do every day. And to be real with you, a service, I mean, there's two types of business, right? You have the physical product, which like the t-shirt, the glasses, whatever, that you're like, yeah, I like that I'm gonna buy that, right? And the other services are services, like things that we do for you, right? I'm in the services business, and my whole thing that I'm really truly learning is, yeah, you're gonna learn a lot. Yeah, you can take the stuff that I've taught you and do it for yourself. And that's great. You might not have the budget to go with a creative service company. However, now the goal is for you, even with the information that I'm giving you, the goal for you is, if I'm giving information and you're growing, and then one day you get to the point where you're like, have grown so much and I just don't have the bandwidth to do it, then who are you going to call? You're going to call me, because I was the one that helped you when you didn't have, right, all the funding. And now that you've used my tactics and my suggestions and my advice, we've already built, like, you've built trust with me. So now you're going to be like, hey, Candice, I used everything that you said and I've grown and I don't have time to do it anymore. Can I hire you and your team to help me do it? I'll be like, yeah, come on, let's go. Plus, you're going to have an amazing foundation because you've been building with me this whole time. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, that's my whole thing about, if you're a service provider, stop being scared to tell people what you're doing and how you're growing, and because we should all be building together. Anyway, I can't find the dang list that I was looking for, so I'm just gonna like tell you off the top of my head. So I got frustrated. I don't know why. I was just sitting at my computer, and I was just thinking about, like, I guess it's because I was creating content for a new brand, and like, I just could rehear her telling me her story and how she had hired and spent all this money on this marketing, air quote, lady to help her. And I mean, she just said it. She was just like, I went with this lady, and then she ended up having this kid design my Canva templates. And long story short, long story short, the woman didn't have strategy. The woman didn't have, like, what's the ROI? What's the return on the investment that this woman is giving you? And don't get me wrong, it really is a very much like research, it's a lot of research. If you're doing this online stuff, you have to have the, how do I say this without, like, I don't know, sounding weird. You have to have the stomach for, like, the change. It's constant change. So if you're somebody who does not like change, like, it might be a little hard for you. I love change. Like, I cannot do the same thing over and over and over again. It's just, ugh. So for me, constantly researching, constantly trying to figure out what's working, what's not working, that excites me, because when we hit that mark and it's working, it's like, yes, let's go. Like, we just keep, we keep doing it. And then it doesn't work anymore. And so now we have to, okay, why isn't it working? What can we do to work? And so it's like constantly changing. And for a lot of people, they might not like that. But for me, I'm all about it, because this is just how my mind works. And like, you can see me getting excited because this is really, truly my passion. I have a passion that the works of my hands produces something. And so anything that I create is not just to create it because I'm a good designer and I have a good eye and I can create, but it has to produce. Everything that we create and work and do has to produce. So I'm kind of going all over the place here, my bad. But I feel like it is really all important. It really is important, especially if you're a service provider, to share these things with you so that you too can also grow. And what's wild to me is that me and my team, like, we're in the background. Like, we don't, like, I've started kind of really putting myself out here more myself to kind of really it's to help people. It's to help people who don't have the funding, because when I first started out and I was bringing brands in or whatever, a lot of them, like, they were like, you're a great designer and you have all this awesome background and we just can't afford to bring this type of service in right now. And so it was kind of hard at first, even for me. I was like, what am I doing wrong? Well, I too had a lot of growing to do, and I've grown so much in the last 2 years, and I'm very confident now in what I do, I'm excited to share the things that I've learned and done. And somebody's calling me. This is why, my friend, you need to put your phone on Do Not Disturb when you're doing your video, but that's okay. Anywho, okay, let's go back. Let's go back to where we first started this lovely conversation. Writing your memo, writing the dream down of the business, like getting that anchor done before we start going on ChatGPT, before we start doing all this stuff, or Gemini or Claude. So now, giving you a real life example of what happened. The whole point of having a business is finding a gap and becoming a solution for that gap, right? Finding an area that there's not really help in, or that a product needs to be created because there's not this product there, right? So what I found out was I began to write down the frustrations that my clients have had, the hurt, the abandonment, the, oh my gosh, I can't even, so many things. One of them is wild to me because it was me and another gentleman that I had met, like, in one of those groups, those general groups, like for marketing or whatever. And this is so sad, but be careful in those groups, because I didn't think about this until he was telling me his story. But so it was me, and we're just going to name him Bob. So it was me and Bob and this other guy, we're going to name him Jake. So me and Bob, we, met each other in this marketing general, what are they called? Masterclass group. And, he and I, we stayed friends throughout, I think it was like a year or two ago. And we stayed friends, not really like friends, but, like social media friends, like supporting each other. Yay, thumbs up, all that stuff. And Jake reached out to me and Bob and was trying to sell us marketing stuff. I don't know. Jake kind of gave me like the heebie-jeebies, and he was very like pushy and like, oh, kind of like that whole, you got to take a risk. You got to like just really like bro-ish, And I don't know what it was, but I felt like in my gut, like, nah, I don't trust this dude. Kindly, sir, leave me alone. And I actually did go with another lady to get some advice from. So anyway, my friend Bob did not. He fell for the bro marketing and ended up paying him thousands of dollars, and this guy ghosted him. That was heartbreaking to me. And it's heartbreaking because I don't think that I did not realize this until that moment. But there are people like Jake out there that go into these groups because think about it. This master class it's a sales pitch. You're paying for a sales pitch. Is there's there is some content, like I'm not gonna lie, I paid for this masterclass, I think $100, and I believe that I got my money's worth out of it. It taught me a lot. It helped me with my mindset. Now, but of course I couldn't afford at that time getting like the big, you know, invitation or whatever. But there's people like Jake that understand that. So yeah, maybe I couldn't afford the $15,000, but could they afford 2,000? You know what I'm saying? So watch out for people like that. Just have discernment is what I'm saying. You know what the biggest thing, and see, this is what I'm talking about. This is where this gap is, looking for their evidence. And so, okay, so continuing on. So that was one story. I mean, there's more. I'm not going to share every single story because there's quite a bit. But then the new brand that just came in, her story, like I said about the marketing lady who hired, like, had a kid doing Canva. There was no strategy behind it. It was just creating designs and just posting just a post. Like there wasn't any strategy. That one, she spent lots of money with her. There's a gentleman that, that we work with that he is, it's kind of like loyalty. Like I really do believe that he's had people come in, try to grow off of him, and then they grow and then leave, which to me is so wrong to do. And because I started with them, and then I've grown through that time, but I'm not going anywhere. Like we started together, we're gonna build together. Like that's just how I am. And because like I even created like foundation prices for some brands that started with me from year one, and they're locked in. They're locked in. And some of my brand coach or some of my business coaches might be like, "What are you doing? Stop that." But they're locked in. Will we have a conversation one day? Hopefully, right? Because that's the integrity that they have and the integrity that I have. That like, hey, we got to be fair to each other. But as of right now, like we're locked in. I don't. So okay, going back to all the things. I hope I don't. I don't know. I hope I don't sound like. Maybe I do sound like I'm going all over the place, but aren't we all? I'm like in my mind right now. You remember that little, what people think success looks like, and it's like this spot here, and then it makes this line, and then it says what success really looks like, and it's like this knot, this huge knot. That's kind of how I feel about this conversation right now. So we might just call this the knot journey conversation. But anywho, going back to this whole thing. You have a business in your heart that you want to create. Normally, what I believe is when we create businesses is because we fill a gap. We see something. There's products that we want that we don't see that are out there, so that's how you create like products, right? There's services out there that we're either mistreated or we feel like this type of service needs to be out there. So I believe like that's why we create these things. For me, and I feel like there might be some entrepreneurs out there like this too, but I feel like for me, where it was kind of hard for me at first was because I went to college to work for corporate, I built all these skills and all this understanding and knowledge I received from the corporate world and from college, right? And so whenever I came to do my own thing, I was so used to being a worker bee. I was used to somebody telling me what to do. And not really understanding that I needed to find the pain points, I needed to find the gaps. I needed to find the gaps to see where I could help with my knowledge, right? And so that's why I think just God is just so amazing, because he pulled me out of the corporate world. And at the time, I didn't realize that he helped me when I got pulled out, that there was a huge gap. And I didn't realize. I was so hurt. But that was the gap. It was my hurt, right? I was my hurt because of how I was mishandled and mistreated as a creative. And so now I have been able to be be there for creatives. I, do the mentoring. I want to be the creative director that I wish I had. So I'm filling in that gap for other creatives, and for the creatives that partner with me. They don't just, I'm not a taskmaster. I'm not just telling them do this, do this. I'm telling them why. I'm teaching them why I'm making these decisions. They're, asking me questions, how they should do this or that, because that's what I needed and what I wanted whenever I was coming up. But don't get me wrong, I did have some amazing mentors. I'm so blessed. I had professors that really saw in me that I didn't see coming up in college. There are This was in the magazine company. I had two amazing, just, they were managers ahead of me. And, well, the production manager, and then also an art director. These two women, well, and then also to my my editor. Well, she was editor in chief. I always called her editor in chief, and she was to me. But those three women really were mentors to me and saw me, and so I'm really blessed that I had those. But it was later on in my career that I learned the dark side of the corporate world, which was no fun. And that's the side where they just want to taskmaster and just use you up. So, but I had to go through that to realize that I never want to be treated like that ever again, that I will never treat somebody like that, and that that there is a real need for creative directors and for leaders that are here to truly grow others, because there's enough for everybody. There's no ego, there's no competition. So, yeah. Okay. That's what I got for you today. So, the lessons for today is write your frustrations down in your business. Like, what is it that you're seeing that has happened in your life that has frustrated you, like finding that gap, and then now taking that gap and creating services or products. That is truly how you can build a business. And I really, really wish that I would have had somebody tell me this back in March of 2024, and maybe in this chaotic way. Because sometimes the professional jargon, sometimes we don't, it just doesn't click. So, all right, okay, I'm done now. I hope you have an amazing time, whatever time it is for you, and I will see you later. Bye.